Hi everybody, I'm Lacy Schoen, founder of Real Women, Real Success. Today we're going to talk about what to do about a woman that undermines you in a professional setting. And you're saying, why is it important for me to address this? I don't want to deal with these difficult situations, even though they're so oppressive and they hurt so much when they happen. We've talked about before the place that women have in workplace America. We're 50% of the population and 67% of college graduates, and yet only 5% of Fortune 500 company leadership, only 14% of government leadership. We're missing something. It certainly isn't that we're not smart enough. I think that one of the things that Real Women, Real Success is so committed to is not only utilizing our female skills and talents in just the right way to ascend to higher levels of leadership, but also to band together and build that community of women supporting women that is so important to all of our success and gaining those new roles in corporate America, in government, in community, where we can be the problem solvers. Our skills are needed, our talents are needed, empathy, bridge building, collaboration, all of those things that we do so well, rightly applied, will get us there, along with building community with each other. I want to build the good old girls club, right? Not the good old boys club, the good old girls club, so all ships will rise. And let me give you just a brief example that I just saw 2 weeks ago that really demonstrates the power of why this is so important, and I think you'll be able to follow along with me. This wasn't a board meeting for my organization, but it was a board meeting for a different organization. I sit on the board, and I was able to watch a board vote happen on an issue where there were 2 men for and 3 women against. And you would say, well, there's 3 women against, so hey, why didn't they win this vote? And if you watch the dynamics that went around that board table, which I'm going to describe to you right now, you know exactly why the men won the vote. So the women discussed their perspectives on this particular initiative. But what was interesting is each woman had a different reason why she didn't want to support this, why that it was a bad idea. And as each woman talked around the table, a couple of times, a couple of them commented, well, so-and-so said this, I'm not really on the same page with her. I feel this way, almost feeling like they needed to assert their independence in a way from everybody else. Make note of that. That's a key in this. The next one goes and she says, well, I hadn't really thought about what those other 2 women had thought about, but here's my point of view, and at the end of the day, I'm not going to be supporting this. Okay, that's how they talk about the initiative. At least they all talked about it. That was a good thing. The 2 men spoke. The first one spoke, and he came out very strongly and very confidently. He didn't say he hadn't thought about it. He said, I've thought about this. Here are my the reasons why I feel this is very, very important, and here's how I'm going to vote. The second man went and he said, not only do I echo so-and-so's point of view, I would like to add to it this. And he also spoke, just like I'm speaking to you, very strongly. And people want to go with strength, right? People want to go with strength. At the end of the day, it was very obvious that these 2 had talked before the meeting. They had talked about what they were going to say, and they knew that they were going to be supporting each other. And even though there were more women on one side of this than men on the other, the men won the day because they provided strength around the table, they supported each other, whereas the women didn't look like any 2 of them really were supporting each other. So isn't that powerful to know that that's how that works? That's what I mean by all ships rise. If we doubt each other, everybody doubts us. We don't want that. People want to go with strength. It's the fact of group dynamics. It's the way that people get comfortable moving forward, is seeing strength in numbers. We want to make strength in numbers. So today we're talking about the incident where another woman professional undermined you. That can be a situation where someone is just really direct or bowls you over in a meeting or cuts down your idea publicly in front of a bunch of people instead of supporting you, or at least saying, I'd like to talk with you about this offline. It could be someone who makes cliques in the organization, or little silos of opinions and ideas and maybe dissension. It could be someone who plays the blame game. Remember, when you play the blame game, you may be pointing at someone else, but you got 4 fingers pointing back at yourself. It could be someone who does power plays, someone who goes around you to your boss, or maybe someone who takes the initiative to actually influence different members of your team unbeknownst to you. I mean, I know that sounds ugly, but you and I both know those things go on. And so What I want to talk to you about today is 4 strategies for dealing with that kind of behavior that can help you succeed and that can help you be that mentor and leader that will help all ships rise and try to diffuse, if not eliminate, the situation. Okay? So when stuff like this happens to us, when we get undermined by another woman, we say, damn. And that's my acronym, DAM, D-A-A-M. And it stands for 4 words. The first strategy is direct. The second one is going around. The third one is avoiding. And the fourth one is mentoring. So D-A-A-M. I'm going to go through each one of those right now to give you some clarity on what it is I mean by each one. First of all, going direct. Going direct is what we call that difficult conversation that you're going to have with someone that bowls you over or really undermines you, and it's pretty serious. You have to address it, okay? You don't want to ignore it. The first thing you want to keep in mind is you don't want to go into a meeting like that full of emotion. You have to let that subside before you take the meeting and go have this discussion. And when you have the discussion, you want to have it in a very constructive, very analytical way. And all I want you to do is to go in the meeting and describe the behavior that you observed. Don't talk about your feelings. Describe the behavior that you saw. So perhaps you're going to say, I noticed that you were very, very strongly spoken in our staff meeting, which surprised me. And then you want to go ahead, go to the next level and say, what the impact of that was, of that behavior. And how that landed on me and the team is it had the effect of stopping the project in its tracks. And then you want to go to the next step and ask if that was their intention. And just say, was that your intention? So it sounds something like this. Debbie, we were in a meeting yesterday and I observed that you came out so strongly spoken against this particular project, which surprised me. And the impact that that had was it stopped the project in its tracks. And of course, we're going to have to back this up and not achieve our objective for the organization for another couple weeks. You want to let them know the impact. And so it's slowing us down. And I'm wondering, was that your intention? And allow them to speak. That period of time, especially if you can do a pause there, you're going to learn a lot about that person. They may backtrack. They may say they didn't mean to do that. They may say all kinds of things. But after they're done, it's your opportunity then to define what you want and ask for support. So you listen to them. Maybe you have a little bit of a discovery conversation. You've learned where they were coming from. And you may or may not believe that they're going to change their approach the next time. But what you're going to do is then say, here's what you want to see, and can you have their support? So here's something that you could say to Debbie. You could say, well, okay, I hear you. But in order for me to be successful and you to be successful and the organization to be successful, I'd like to ask you, since you did have the agenda ahead of time, to come to me ahead of time and let me know your concerns so I can work them into my plan or at least address them. I can't guarantee we're going to agree on everything, but I'd like to consider your thoughts. I think you're a valuable member of the team and I would love nothing more than to share with the entire team in this organization that the positive outcome of this project or initiative that you contributed to it. You helped it succeed. You can appeal a little bit to their ego or their need for validation. Everybody needs that. That's a strategy too. And then you just simply end by saying, you know, this is how I'd like to do this. Can I have your support? Can we work together in trying to perfect our teamwork? It's really hard for someone to say no to that. And if they do say yes and don't follow up on it, you then have the makings of your next conversation. Sometimes it takes a few conversations to retrain someone into influencing them to knowing you're not someone that's just going to let them roll over you. Okay, so going direct's that difficult conversation where you're sort of standing up for yourself in a very productive and objective way that is really difficult, if not impossible, to criticize. Number 2 is going around. And before we get too involved in going around, I just want to say you never want to go around your boss. I mean, there might be some instances where that's appropriate, but let me give you a couple of thoughts about going around your boss. Number 1, I don't want any woman to engage in what's called a CLM. And that stands for a career limiting move. Anybody that you work for, any boss that you work for, you need their reference for your next step. Here's the question you have to ask yourself. Is the problem just your boss, or is it systemic and it's the entire organization and the leadership above your boss? If it's just your boss, chances are it's temporary. And one of the things you might do that I've suggested before to help yourself in the interim is go to your boss and say, hey, I want to be of value to you. I want to help you succeed. I want to contribute more value to the team and to the company. How can I do that for you? Would you give me some stretch goals? Would you give me any kind of assignments that would help me be more valuable to you? You can become your boss's favorite person by having that kind of conversation over and over again, and that might pave the way to getting you through that temporary period of time until your boss moves on or until you move on or whatever. If it's systemic, and it's a company that you're in, and it really is, a lot of these things, cultural things, start with the leadership at the top. And if it's that kind of issue, this is a place, if you're not finding a way to function well there over time and after developing your skills, it's probably a sign that maybe it's not a long-term home for you. So know that. Okay, back to going around. Number 2, going around. What I'm talking about in this scenario is getting third-party endorsers. We all will meet with those people who cannot support us for whatever reason. They're intimidated by us, they don't like us, they don't think our ideas are valid. People who don't think your ideas are valid no matter what are never going to be valuable to you. But sometimes they're people in powerful positions, right? So what you have to do is figure out how to get the support of the people they respect. Okay, so you have to take stock. Who do you see them engaging with? Who do they talk about that they respect? And are those people that you have access to? Because especially if it's a lateral or another organization, you have the absolute power to go out and start influencing the people that they love. Now, think about our example from the beginning of the video where we talked about that board meeting and strength in numbers, right? If you surround someone you need support from with support from people they respect, you'll get their support. It may not be in their heart, but who cares? You're moving your initiative forward, you're advancing your influence, and you're getting the support you need to move forward on an important project or advancement that you're working on. Number 3 is avoid. It's really that simple. We don't need to spend a lot of time talking about it. Some of you might say, well, I don't want to be, a scaredy cat and just avoid conflict. I'm not telling you to be conflict avoidant. I'm saying you don't have to pick every battle. Pick your battles, and there are some times where people are toxic. Just avoid them if you can. If they're in the corner office and you can go a different way to go to the bathroom, do it. Just avoid them at all costs if you can, because you need to reserve your energy for the battles worth fighting. And that's not one of them. So avoid is one strategy. The last one is mentor. You can mentor people who aren't your direct reports, who aren't you can even mentor your boss, actually. This is the not going direct. This is the more subtle approach. You're still going to talk about an incident and the outcome, but you're going to do it in generalities. And maybe it's a situation where you have a cup of coffee with someone who seems like they can be a little toxic sometimes, but maybe it's not intentional. Maybe they're uninformed or really green. We have a lot of young people entering the workforce these days, and sometimes they're just green. They don't know how to be a team member. They haven't been taught. So let's teach them a little bit. And have a cup of coffee or sit down with them in a meeting and say, I just want to share with you, I really think you have a lot of potential as a professional, and I know that we are on the same team, or that we get involved with each other in some way. And I want to share a little bit about myself and reach out to you and say, these are some of the things I'm working on for me as a professional. Sometimes I notice in meetings that these kind of things go on, or people stumble around trying to find how to support each other. And I think there's a better way that helps everybody succeed, that helps all women succeed, that helps the team and the organization succeed. And here's how I view that. And here's the things I'm working on to try to go there. And I was just wondering, do you want to be part of this movement with me? Everybody wants to be part of a club, right? Or an in-group. It's one of our innate needs is validation and family and community. So convey a community of a more positive outlook and more positive values and standards, self-accountability standards moving forward. That is this teamwork notion that you can be a mentor to this person and say, here's how I envision this. Here's how I see a team working really well together. Do you want to be part of this with me? Can I engage you in an ongoing discussion about this? And then you can mentor that person, and then you're really starting to build your influence no matter what the reporting structure is. So that's the 4. That's damn, I got to deal with this again. DAAM, going direct, going around, avoiding, and mentoring. I hope that was helpful to you. The last thing I want to say is always be a role model yourself. I'm not saying don't make mistakes. We all make mistakes. I've certainly made them myself. And when you do, you just apologize or acknowledge it and move on. You don't have to dwell there long at all. We are going to stumble our way sometimes, particularly when we're doing stretch goals or going to the next level for ourselves. But as much as you can, be a role model and then communicate about that. It's important to me to be this way because this is what I value. And you'll start to be that person of influence that people want to be like. That person who resolves these kind of conflict issues and maybe neutralizes some of the toxic people and other women that are backbiting or undermining. And you'll start to neutralize that and be a force in your professional environment. So thanks for watching today. Please give this video a like. I'd love to hear your comments, maybe suggestions for future videos. I love that. I want to thank you again for watching. I want you to go out there and have a great week. Know I'm your biggest fan. I want you to succeed. I want me to succeed. I want us all to succeed. And I'll see you next time.